Hello, Blake Ridis here, and thank you very much for taking on this Photoshop 30-Day Mastery Challenge. Now, this isn't going to be an easy thing for you. I know that because, I've been using Photoshop for 19 years and I still learn new things, okay? So the reason why I'm doing this as a 30-day challenge instead of one course that you just download the whole thing and go through at your own pace is because you need to have these times that you set aside to use some practical application for the things that we're going to talk about in each individual day. So the first day, you might not get much out of it. And that's okay. But what I want you to do is take a look at what we talked about that day and then take 5 to 10 minutes to just explore the things that we discussed at your own leisure. The next day, we're going to do the same thing. So what happens is you learn from me and then you build up your skill sets by practicing the thing that you learned that day. So if you set aside, maybe 30 minutes a day for this stuff for the next 30 days, you're going to be a lot farther along in Photoshop than you are right now. Okay? So trust me on this. Take it in strides and take it day by day. The way I learned Photoshop was to take each individual thing that I wanted to learn and study it and practice it for an entire week. One thing. So just for instance, the curves adjustment layer. I heard about it, I wanted to use it, so I used it for an entire week in every capacity, in every way possible, so that I could learn how to use the curves adjustment layer. So I know that that would be a 30-week challenge if we did one video and then use this for a week. That's why I've condensed it down to 30 days. You will learn and get more proficient at Photoshop in 30 days. So just stick with me on this. The first thing we're going to talk about today is going to seem very basic, but it's one of those things that even seasoned Photoshop people email me and say, "Hey Blake, how do I update Photoshop?" And I'm like, "Oh, okay, well, let's take this back to the basics." So we're going to start you off at the basics, and we're going to start you off right there in the Adobe Cloud. So the Adobe Cloud app, the CC app that you're going to get when you purchase Adobe Photoshop CC subscription or the subscription model of Adobe Photoshop CC, you're going to have an interface that looks like this. This is the new interface for Photoshop and Adobe 2020. It basically controls all of the Adobe products that you own, whether that's Photoshop, Lightroom, Premiere, etc., etc. It's your one-stop hub for all your updates and everything that you'll need in your Adobe Creative Cloud subscription. So this is actually a really awesome thing that they've done, because before, in years past, if you want to know if Photoshop had an update to it, you had to go up to the help in Photoshop and then scroll down to help and see if you had the latest version and go see if you had the latest version by what you Googled online, and then possibly go to the Adobe website and download it if you didn't. Now they've made it really simple and easy. You have one hub here. So what you'll see here is if you have any updates, you'll click on the updates section right here. This is all of the apps. If you press all apps, this is all of the apps that are available in the Adobe subscription. If you click on updates, these are the ones that you have installed that there might be updates for. So as you see, all these crazy apps here that Adobe has that you can use, these are the only ones that I'm really using. Photoshop, Bridge, I have Lightroom installed, but I don't use it very much, and Adobe Camera Raw. In the next lesson, I'm going to talk about the 3 parts to Photoshop, and you're going to be shocked that I don't include Lightroom in there. However, Lightroom is a part of Photoshop, but we aren't going to be discussing that throughout this entire 30-day challenge. This is about Photoshop and Photoshop alone, because Lightroom could have its own 30-day challenge course for it, okay? This becomes your centralized hub for all things Adobe products in your CC lineup. What this also does is it shows you some of your libraries and different documents that you might have within that. So if you go to your work, anything that you may have gotten off of Adobe stock, you might find in here. All right. If we go to the web here and we go to any published links, if there's anything that I've published through my Adobe Creative Cloud account, I can access them here. Or if anybody has shared anything with me through my Adobe account, I can see them here as well. If I go to Cloud Documents, this is going to show me all of the things that I actually have uploaded to my Creative Cloud library of documents if I did have any. If I go to my libraries here, you'll see all the different libraries that I have from my downloads through my templates, and we'll get into the libraries later. But this hub is an important place because a lot of people don't think to go here when they are looking to update Photoshop. If Photoshop does have an update, or any of the programs that you have an update, when you click on this, you'll see a little button here that says update. You click the button and you're good to go. All you got to do is make sure that you're not actually running that program at that time. One of the things that I wanted to point out here that many people don't even know comes with your subscription is this thing called the portfolio. Okay, so if you go to just type portfolio up here, and then if you look at apps and click on apps, you're going to see right here that there's one called portfolio or web. Create your own personalized website. Now this is really great because Adobe actually gives you a place where you can share your work online. So here, if you're using this subscription, you've got Lightroom, you've got Photoshop, you've got Bridge, you've got Adobe Camera Raw, and Adobe even offers you a portfolio. Now, if you're not familiar with web hosting and websites, a website can cost a lot of money. It can probably cost you anywhere from $100 to $300 just for hosting alone. That means just for having the space that you put your website on. On top of that, you have to pay for your .com. So what Adobe provides for you here is a way for you to build your own website with your images. It's really awesome. So if we go to launch on this, you're going to see that I already have a website built with my Adobe portfolio. Now, this website that I built with my Adobe portfolio is rather old. I do have a video tutorial on this on YouTube. You can see how I built this portfolio from that video, which I'll link. So after you get done watching this one, if you want to take some time, which is going to be your homework, to look through this Adobe portfolio, you can take a look at that video as well to see how I built my own Adobe portfolio on this platform. So if we click on this, you can see edit site or create a new site. You can create up to 5 different websites, 5 different places that you can send somebody to go see your work and the things that you're creating within Photoshop or anything in general, really. So if I click on this link, this is going to show you how I would edit and modify this link. If I go to update live site or preview, we can actually preview the website here. So I'm not going to go into the details on how you actually build a website here because I've created a whole video tutorial on that a couple years ago that you'll see here. It's very similar, even though things might have changed a little bit. The interface and working with this portfolio has gotten a lot easier. But if you click on landscape here, this will just give you a nice, beautiful representation of some of the landscape work that I've done in a gallery style view. If you click on the viewfinder here, you can actually open it up and just see that one individual picture right in front of you. Depending on the size that you upload these to, they'll be bigger in your display. So it's a great way that you can keep people up to speed on the things that you're doing with the work that you're creating in Photoshop. And it's all bundled together in your Creative Cloud subscription. You don't have to pay for this. You already did. You get it monthly with Photoshop and Lightroom. And many people don't even know that this exists in their Creative Cloud account. So a lot of times people say to me, Blake, I just want to put my pictures up on the web. What do you recommend I do for a website? I'm like, well, have you looked into Adobe Portfolio? And then like, Adobe Portfolio, what's that? It's just a very simple website that you can show off your creative work that you're creating, whether that's with Adobe or not. They don't care if this is out of Photoshop or not. That's a big thing. A lot of people think, well, it's the Creative Cloud, so that means that they're going to see every picture that I ever develop in Photoshop and I have to be online all the time. That's not actually true. So if you pick up your machine and you're disconnected and you go off on a trip and you're traveling and you want to use Photoshop, it's not going to stop you from your service. You'll still have access to that. The next time you plug in your computer and you get registered, you get online and you go into your Creative Cloud app, it will automatically track that you're still a paying customer. So you can use it online or offline. All of your images don't go into the cloud. They'll only go to the cloud if you save them to the cloud, and that's it. And that's typically if you're going to be using those things called libraries. You can see that in my libraries, I've added some images into my libraries that I can use. One of them is my color wheel. I use my color wheel all the time, and I need access to it in Photoshop. So I can do that by linking my library that I have here online to Photoshop. We'll discuss libraries later in the 30-day challenge. I just want you to know that these are some of the features that you're going to see in Photoshop. So let's go ahead and wrap this one up. Basically what happens here is this Creative Cloud subscription, your hub, your centralized hub is the Creative Cloud desktop app that you're going to have whether you're in Windows or a Mac computer. This is your hub for updating all of your apps. But what we also found here is that it gives us access to our libraries, and not only our libraries, but the ability to create a portfolio. So your homework for today is just go through the Creative Cloud app, discover things. You don't necessarily have to pick and download different programs. That's not what I'm telling you to do. What I'm telling you here is just get acquainted with this so that when you do need to update Photoshop, you know where to go to update it. And if you search your portfolio, you can start creating a website right now today where you could send somebody in the next 20 minutes after you've made it. That's pretty cool. You can be sharing your work with your friends, your family members, your coworkers, and even building an online presence if your business is something that you're trying to do with the creative work that you're doing. Do your homework. I expect you to. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about the 3 different parts to Photoshop.